That was Bonnie Tyler with Holding Out for a Hero. Welcome to the Rise Weekly Review for April 18th through April 25th, 2022. Despite Chicago seeing the most violent weekend for the year, there were few reported injuries on Chicago's southeast side in the media. There was, however, a number of area shootings and at least one confirmed injury. According to reports from independent sources, police were able to confirm a man was shot in South Shore on the 2100 block of East 71st Street. Police report that a vehicle had fired shots and the area shot spotter detected 19 possible rounds fired. In other news, two people are dead following a police chase in East Chicago. According to reports around 3 a.m., officers attempted to stop an older Toyota Corolla near 138th and Euclid. The vehicle did not stop and police continued to pursue them. Around Butternut Street and Columbus Drive, the driver lost control and struck a cement planter. The vehicle was totaled, and the driver and passenger had to be freed by the East Chicago Fire Department. The passenger passed away at the scene. The driver was transported to an area hospital where they passed away from their injuries. A Northwest Indiana man is being called a hero after helping to rescue a driver trapped in a vehicle. On Friday, Bandon Delk was driving along I-80 94 on the Borman Expressway near the Kennedy Avenue exit when he spotted a pickup truck flipped over and submerged in a retention pond. Delk heard the driver honking the horn to get attention. Delk and his wife, who were dressed up to celebrate their anniversary, called police and tried to flag down other drivers, but to no avail.
You know what? The crazy thing is I'm sitting on top of this car screaming to people as they're coming on the off-ramp, and people will slow down and you can see their phones and their cameras out, but nobody's stopping. There's two people who stopped there with me, but they didn't want to go in the water because they were worried about their shoes.
Delk decided to help and jumped in the pond and went to the vehicle where he saw a man partially submerged with water seeping into the vehicle. As police arrived on the scene to help, Delk asked the officer for his baton and then he used it to break the car window and free the driver.
Release his stomach. He is blaring on the horn, trying to honk it like this because he's sitting upward the best that he can.
But keep in mind,
relentlessly trying to beat with the sign. We had a rock, we had feet, we were trying to do everything, or at least I was. Finally, an officer ended up pulling up. Before he got in the water, he threw me his baton.
I think that we were at the right place at the right time, and I think God led us there.
No further information was given as to the cause of the crash or the condition of the driver. A 17-year-old was arrested and charged during the week with raping a student at Morton High School back in November. According to reports, on November 12th, the school was holding an active shooter drill. The 16-year-old victim was in band class with the 17-year-old teen when the drill was announced and the class was told to go into a darkened instrument storage room. According to court documents, the girl bumped into the young man who grabbed her breasts and genitals. He then stuck his hands down her pants and forced her hand down his. When the lights went back on, the girl went back to her desk and cried. The victim's parents were contacted and they contacted police. The 17-year-old student is being charged as an adult with rape, criminal confinement, and sexual battery. On Wednesday, Chicago held its local school council elections. The school elections have been held every 2 years following the Chicago Reform Act of 1988. The Reform Act was passed due to pressure from grassroots organizers that wanted to decentralize the running of the schools and allow more parental and community involvement in decision-making. At the time, the Chicago public schools were considered among the worst in the nation. As part of the act, LSCs were formed that had the power to fire principals and approve school budgets. Each LSC is made up of 6 parent representatives, 2 community, 2 teacher representatives, 1 non-teacher staff, 1 student representative, and a school's principal. Despite the historic effort, in recent years, the number of participants in LSCs has continued to diminish in many areas of the city, with many schools struggling to fill elected positions. The Chicago Tribune published a story about local area activist and former teacher at Bowen High School, Joanne Paco, who was one of a very few running for positions at Taylor. According to the Tribune, in 1989, 25 parents and 19 community members competed for spots on Bowen's LSC. This week's election saw 4 parents and 2 community members. On Chicago's southeast side, most schools had unchallenged spots, meaning that those who ran automatically won their positions. Some schools did have competing races, however. Salowski on the east side had 4 people running for 2 community representative spots. Lita Ferner, Gustavo Brizuela, Elisa Puente, and Liliana Bustos were competing for those spots. At Marsh, in Slag, 8 parents were competing for 6 parent representative spots. They were Gabriel Macias, Dulce Fuentes Lopez, Paloma Ramirez, Ana Guajario Carrillo, Maria Murillo, Angelica Sierra, Maribel Godina, and Judith Bahina. At Grissom and Hegewisch, Sammy L. Nemri, Brittany Gomez, and Alejandro Torrejon competed for the community representative spot. For South Shore International, Riley Jones, Patricia King, and DeWitt Scott were campaigning for the community representative spot. During the week, Bloomberg Law reported on a confrontation between the Reserve Management Group, or RMG CEO, and the U.S. EPA chief. The confrontation occurred at an event in Cleveland, Ohio, where EPA Chief Michael Regan was touring to tout the administration's investments in environmental remediation. At the event, CEO Steve Joseph of the Ohio-based company RMG that was attempting to open a metal shredder on Chicago's east side confronted Regan.
Still having a hard time, obviously, with that, given that all of the zoning was done. The city knew what the site was long before that happened, and the health impact assessment came out and very clearly stated that there was no impact at all to human health. So while I understand there have been impacts in that neighborhood for years and years, we're just not adding to the burden, sir.
I think the city's determination by not giving the permit was that there was an added burden to the disproportionate impacts that that community was already facing. And so again, the city, the mayor, they made the decision. And I did what I plan to do all over this country, which is for cities who are facing complicated and complex decision making, EPA will stand in support to provide the resources dedicated to properly analyzing many of our communities that have been disproportionately impacted for decades.
We're going to go on to the next question.
Joseph publicly criticized and blamed him for causing the city of Chicago to deny the operating permit. The company is attempting to appeal the operating permit decision and is also filing a civil lawsuit against the city. The company was set to have an administrative hearing on Thursday to appeal the permit decision, but the company asked to postpone the hearing until next month. On Tuesday, Fox News published a story of a piping plover sighting at Rainbow Beach. The piping plover is a bird native to North America that nests and feeds near beaches. Conservationists have classified the bird as having near-threatened status with an estimated of between 7,600 and 8,400 in existence. The bird population is endangered in part because they lay their eggs exposed on beaches where increasing numbers of people, invasive species like cats, and other wildlife pose threats. Conservationists have been working to build enclosures to help the birds nest. In 2019, the first documented pair of piping plovers in Chicago was discovered near Montrose Beach. The 3 hatched chicks were believed to be the first in Cook County in 60 years. On Saturday, members of the Brown Beret National Organization were on the east side. The Illinois and Fort Wayne chapter members, who are local residents, were on the east side by the Love Fridge passing out food to residents. The Love Fridge is a refrigerator set up by a local resident next to their home where people can share food with those in need. The Brown Beret National Organization is a spin-off of the original Brown Berets. The Brown Berets formed in 1966 as a Chicano activist and civil rights group. At its peak, the organization had 36 chapters throughout the United States, but disbanded in 1972 due to conflicts caused by the Federal Bureau of Investigation and its counterintelligence program, or COINTELPRO. Throughout the years, many former Brown Beret members formed their own spin-off chapters. And finally, the City of Chicago is now accepting applications for its Resilient Community Pilot Program. The Resilient Community Program will provide a direct cash payment of $500 to 5,000 low-income Chicago families per month. The payments will be given for a year and total up to $31.5 million. Applications for the program opened on Monday and will be open until 11:59 p.m. on Friday, May 13th. Applicant names will be selected from a library to determine who will receive the cash payments. To be eligible, residents must live in the City of Chicago, be over 18, have experienced economic hardships related to COVID-19, and have a household income below 250% of the federal poverty level, or $57,575 for a household of 3. More information can be found at the following bit.ly address: 3 capital K lowercase j 8 uppercase x lowercase y. And that ends our weekly review for April 18th through April 25th, 2022. Thank you for joining us for this week in review. Peace.